In the name of one God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Amen. As far back as the 5th century, Christians have started the new church year with Advent. This season, which starts today, is one in which we both prepare for our remembrance of the birth of Jesus and wait for the second coming of Christ. We celebrate that when God saw the dark forces at work in the world, the way that people were mistreating one another, God reached into human history to save us by coming to us in human form and showing us God's way of love in the life of Jesus. And we long for God to continue God's work of salvation by healing the division and brokenness in the world today. Our longing for God to come to us is matched by God's greatest desire, to love us and to give us the grace and strength that we need to grow into that love. For Advent, you'll notice that we've changed the color of our hangings and vestments to purple to indicate the solemnity of the season, though some churches now use royal blue to reflect that we wait for the kingdom of God on earth as it is in heaven. And we light the candles of the Advent wreath each week. An additional candle is lit to show that that light of Christ grows brighter like the dawn and sweeps away the darkness of sin. The candles remind us that God's compassion for us has never diminished and gives us hope, peace, joy, and love. And yet the meaning of Advent can become lost in the consumer frenzy of these weeks before Christmas. The joy and anticipation of God at work in the world has been replaced by anxiety over celebration preparations and decorations, fretting about purchasing gifts for every family member, friend, and acquaintance, and the hallmark expectation that all will be merry and bright. The fact is that this is not a holly jolly season for everyone. And Americans now spend $600 billion every year on Christmas. In 2006, in response to this growing monstrosity of the consumer Christmas, 3 pastors started what they called the Advent Conspiracy as a plan to take back this season. The Advent Conspiracy founders came up with 4 tenets: worship fully, spend less, give more, and love all, to guide themselves, their families, and their congregations through the season of preparation for Christmas. I commend these to you. The first, worship fully, because Christmas begins and ends with Jesus. Let Advent be a time of contemplation on the life of Jesus. There are numerous resources and devotionals for Advent in our parish hall and in our narthex. And online, the brothers at SSJE in Cambridge have a wonderful one that can be emailed to you each day. Advent is a great time for starting or restarting a practice of daily prayer and devotional reading. Dig out that Advent wreath and light a candle each evening at the dinner table. One daily practice: watch for signs of God's presence with us. Take time at the end of the day to reflect on where you saw God at work. Second, spend less. By spending less, we can feel less stress and less debt, and free up resources for those things that mattered to Jesus. That old adage, "What would Jesus do?" can be tweaked into the question, what would Jesus buy? Or to whom would Jesus give? Consider spending less on the adults in your life and give to those in need. And then give more. But give relationally. Offer one another the gift of your presence rather than merely presents. Spending time with someone gives the message that they are valued and loved. Shared experiences create memories and strengthen relationships. And especially, put the gifts of forgiveness, mercy, and grace at the top of your list for all the people in your life. Advent is an especially appropriate time to mend relationships and to seek healing for old hurts. And burying the hatchet would mean more to your coworker or your sibling than any gift card or gewgaw. And last but not least, love all. Love the forgotten, the poor, the marginalized, and sick in ways that Jesus asked us to. Every year, there's this false sense of outrage in popular culture, a sense that somehow Christians are being disrespected if someone says Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. They demand that we keep the Christ in Christmas. Well, the best way to do that is to show love and respect to all people, regardless of their religion, their culture, their race, or even their likability. We have opportunities through Zion to show our love to the guests at Chapel on the Green, loaves and fishes, with our presence, our hospitality, and yes, our gifts. This type of Christmas giving is embodied in the saint we remember in early Advent. December 6th is the feast day of St. Nicholas of Myra, the patron saint of children. Zion children are learning about him in godly play this morning. Nicholas was the bishop of Myra in what is now Turkey. He took part in the First Council of Nicaea, which laid the foundation for the Nicene Creed that we recite every Sunday. It's believed that Nicholas was born in the year 270 and died in 326. He was the only son of wealthy Christian parents who died young, and so Nicholas was raised by an uncle. The best-known story about Nicholas is that he once learned of a poor man with 3 unmarried daughters, whose chances of marriage were slight since their father could not pay for their dowries. They would be destined for a life of poverty, slavery, or most likely prostitution. In order to remain anonymous, Nicholas threw 3 bags of gold into the poor man's window, providing the dowries for his daughters. Other versions of the story claim that the bags of gold came down the chimney and into the young women's stockings, which were drying by the fire. Some icons depict the 3 bags of gold as gold balls, which led to a tradition of giving oranges at Christmas. Nicholas's gift-giving emphasized care and compassion for the poor and his lifelong devotion to following Jesus. May we be inspired by the real Saint Nick and keep this season holy by worshiping fully, spending less, giving more, and and loving all.